A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
For most of our nearly 240-year history as a constitutional republic, the right to keep and bear arms was never seriously questioned.
If we just remove guns, that's going to send the crime rate down. It's not true. People keep talking about things like Australia, where there was a big gun buyback. And the fact is that in Australia, they only removed 1/3 to 1/5 of guns. The gun crime rate was declining markedly before that, and the United States is not the same as Australia.
A recent rise in the coverage of mass shootings in our mainstream media has led many to seek comfort in stricter gun laws. Anti-gun legislators have used such emotional appeals to push their political agendas.
Congresswoman Diana DeGette proposing legislation again that would ban gun magazines holding more than 10 rounds.
But it is important that we look past these sad tragedies and discuss the Second Amendment from a more rational and analytical point of view. The Second Amendment is crucial because it provides Americans with an effective means of self-defense. Furthermore, it establishes a security measure, should any of our other freedoms be threatened. The framers put the Second Amendment in the Constitution because they wanted to prevent a repetition of their own history. They knew that a government with power can easily become corrupted. Therefore, the right of the people to keep and bear arms helps ensure that their voices and opinions are not squandered, like they were in the past.
Our founding fathers were very wise. They weren't Einstein smart. They were very wise. They understood human nature. And they knew that power corrupts. And no matter what system of government you set up, small groups or single men can gain ascendancy or power over other people. And the ultimate determinant of power is weapons.
Unfortunately, in today's modern society, many are beginning to view the Second Amendment as archaic and impractical.
Now, today we don't have muskets anymore. I'm not sure Washington and Jefferson meant AR-17s or AK-47s. Things that fire 13 bullets in a second is what they would have considered reasonable arms.
Statements like this that demonize firearms in the Second Amendment often neglect their more modern and positive applications. One such application is self-defense. According to the Gun Owners of America, law-abiding citizens use firearms approximately 2.5 million times per year to defend themselves against criminals. That is approximately 6,850 times per day, which means that each year on average, firearms are used 80 times more to save lives rather than end them. These statistics prove that there are far more positives to owning guns than there are negatives. Even so, there are still some that are in favor of the Second Amendment, but still believe in some government regulation of firearms.
Some of the ones that I hear about mandatory background checks, making sure that those happen even at gun shows. Personally, I think that's a good idea. I don't think that puts much of an impediment on purchasing guns.
While we agree that more rigorous background and mental health checks are good steps to reduce the amount of gun violence, we cannot agree with the practicality of banning assault weapons. In reality, we must ask, what do we define as an assault weapon? Those that are uneducated in gun terminology believe that the term assault weapon equates to a common semi-automatic rifle such as an AR-15. This is a common misconception that is the direct result of propaganda used by anti-gun legislators to push their political agendas.
Well, the newspapers routinely get this wrong. They say this crime was committed with an AR-15, AR-14. This was an assault rifle. We should ban assault rifles. An assault rifle is a weapon used by the military, and it's always automatic.
Automatic weapons have been very highly regulated in the United States since the National Firearms Act of 1934. In addition, no machine gun built after 1986 can be legally owned by any U.S. citizen. So the inevitable question we keep coming back to seems to be, will any of the proposed gun control legislation actually do anything? Theoretically, yes. However, these theories are neglecting that there are evil people within every society. Anti-gun legislators want to ban assault rifles because they're an easy culprit. But according to the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting website, rifles are used to commit only 0.035% of gun murders. That statistic is shocking. However, it shouldn't be. When you take into account the gang violence in places such as Chicago and Detroit, as well as other places around the US, the real culprit becomes easier to see. It is our motives and our underlying grudges that are the driving force behind the madness.
I can pin a map and tell you definitively where we have high numbers of assaultive behaviors. It's not something that hides. You don't have to look very hard to find these areas. We know where they're at.
Unfortunately, anti-gun legislators manipulate people's emotions by taking isolated incidents and statistics out of context and applying them to the nation as a whole. This leads to an uninformed voting population, which lacks the foresight to see the consequences of their actions.
They don't understand the ultimate goal of the Second Amendment. And that goal is to preserve the Republic and preserve our freedom 30, 40, 60, 100 years from now.
If we allow anti-gun legislation to continue passing, it could spell the end for America as we know it. The initial intent of the Second Amendment was to prevent the rise of a tyrannical state. And for anyone who says that that can't happen here, I ask you, why? Any government has the potential to become corrupted and do harm. In fact, any individual has that same potential.